Gators, and sports fans. Get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the PodUp with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. PodUp, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to this Wednesday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a good show lined up today. We're going to crank it up with JC here in just a second. Second portion of the show, we'll be joined by former Gator Great defensive back, 7-year NFL vet, Todd Johnson. Talk about his career a little bit and what's going on in his life now. But let's go straight to the Titan MR hotline, joined by Johnny Cornell, better known as JC around these neck of the woods. Good morning, JC. How are you?
Yeah, good, Shane. Good to be with you again. Happy Wednesday, middle of the week, hump day, and a lot of things are coming around, and I'm really excited about this college football season we've got coming up. I know that that's primarily what we love to talk about here because of the Florida Gators and all the expectations that they have, and I just think that there's a lot of things that are kind of still in the mix that still haven't been totally decided yet, and I would highlight that Big Ten conference. But as far as the SEC goes, we got the scheduling out, so I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah, most of the schedule came out. I think late in the year, CBS will leave some spots open to see what games matter the most. But you know, I had some people. I don't know if I was on Buddy's show last night or if it was during my show yesterday. People not really complaining, but talking about, Florida's first two games are at noon. Actually, the first game of the year is actually 11 a.m. start Central Time in Oxford. And those are always an issue. But I don't think they're an issue anymore, JC, because here's the deal. People the fans hated the 12 o'clock game. Why? Because if they wanted to tailgate, you had to get out there at 7 a.m. Okay. Right. Well, there ain't going to be no tailgating.
Right.
So, and we don't know how many people are going to be able and who's going to be able to attend the games. So the noon games, you might as well sleep in a little bit on Saturday, get up, mow the yard, do whatever you got to do, and then come grab some lunch, sit down and watch the game on TV.
I think we're going to see so many different ways to enjoy college football, obviously, this season. And this season, to me, is just as important as any other, despite the fact that we're going to have so many unknowns throughout the season with the possibilities of flare-ups perhaps on some teams or players opting out. We just had some players opt out here recently. And of course, UCF, I think, had 10 players opt out here just recently or yesterday. So UCF, yeah. Central Florida, Josh Heupel was really upset about it, but, he understood it. And that's what I read on Twitter. I also read that Dan Patrick said that if they can update safety measures and procedures, the Big Ten is actually targeting October the 10th to start the football season. And that comes from a guy who was the first one to basically say they were going to cancel it. So
they had a call from the president who spoke with Kevin Warren and who spoke with – here's the thing. There's no reason the Big Ten should not be playing football when everybody in their states are playing football. We've been over this 1,000 times. They should be playing football. Nobody cares about the Pac-12. Nobody cares if they even play football ever again, really. I mean, think about it.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you there. But, I mean, clearly we're seeing some things did they have a vote? Did they not have a vote? Yeah, well, they did have a vote. It turned out to be 11-3 to not have a season with, I guess it was Nebraska and Ohio State maybe, and one other that voted, maybe it was Iowa, that voted not to, or rather to dissent on that vote not to play. But I think the good news is that it's not over yet. And you can say it's political, you can say whatever reason it is for them not having a schedule that's going to be enforced right now. But I have a feeling these coaches and these players are actually trying to get themselves ready to perhaps play maybe as early as October. At least that's the hope. But as far as the SEC goes, it's exciting with these kickoff times that are coming out. I think we've got, obviously you said the Gators are going to kick off at noon in Oxford. It's a shame to me, though, that this year has been wasted on Oxford, because I know so many people had plans to go to Oxford because we never get a chance to go to the Grove and to do things in Mississippi, at that part of the state. Not long ago, we went to Starkville here, and now we've got a chance to go to Oxford, but there's really no reason to go. So with that being said, the TVs are coming out with their schedules, and CBS has announced that Georgia-Alabama is going to be a primetime game at 8 o'clock, I think, in week 2, if I'm not mistaken. And Florida, of course, will play Georgia at the typical 3:30 kickoff time. There's a possibility that Florida will play Texas A&M on CBS in primetime, or rather in the afternoon. So I think things are coming together, and it's starting to make me feel like, wow, we are just about there. Here it is, September 2nd, and we've got essentially 3 weeks to go.
Yeah, and we have games tomorrow night. Southern Miss, South Alabama play. There's a couple other games. Yeah. And then on Labor Day, we have BYU and the Naval Academy playing football on Monday. So, yeah, it's here. It's going to be here. It's going to be fine. I'm telling you. Big Ten will be playing, in my opinion, here shortly. And as I mentioned, nobody cares about the Pac-12.
QB, let me ask you a quick question here, since you're the great QB. If you had, and I was watching Jordan Rogers last night on the SEC Network, and I was listening to what he had to say about some of the top players that we're going to be watching this particular season, obviously. If you had to rank quarterbacks 1 through 3, who would you say, going into the season without any other knowledge that you have based off of last year, would you put it 3, 2, and 1? Just as QB.
Wait, give me that one more time, because I had a guest texting me. Give me that question.
I want to know from you, if you had to rank the quarterbacks in this league from 3 down to 1, 1 being the best, who would your 3 be right now, without any games being played, based off solely what we know from last year?
Who would be my 3rd quarterback? Gosh. Oh man.
Well, just think of this conference.
I'm going to put 2 guys there right now.
Okay.
I do 2?
Well, you can do 2, sure. I mean, here's my 3. You want to hear my 3, or you
want
to
hear your 3?
Well, my 3 would be Mac Jones at number 3. I would have the kid at Georgia, Jamie Newman, at number 2, because he hasn't played at Georgia yet, but we saw what he could do at Wake Forest. Obviously, big kid, dual threat, that kind of thing. And Kyle Trask would be my number 1 guy, just based on the fact that his production has been so good, and he's so good under Dan Mullen, with Kellen Mond somewhere around there with Mac Jones in the 3 spot.
Well, I agree with those 3. I would throw I'm throwing KJ Costello in there. He's going to throw for 1,000,000 yards this year at Mississippi State.
I think that's a great pick, because nobody's thinking about Mississippi State.
I'm not throwing Jamie Newman in there until I see him play in the SEC. Until Georgia, they've been pedestrian on offense for forever. And I've got to see it with my own eyes. They were pedestrian last year. I just have to wait and see it. I like those guys. You said, what's interesting? You bring up Trask, and I agree. But Pro Football Focus, JC, these guys that sit in these dungeons for Chris Collinsworth's group. And they do they can tell you a stat on every position. They watch every play and they grade it. Yeah. And I don't know if we've spoken about this, but I've spoken with several others on different shows about it. They graded every starting quarterback. What is it, 131 teams in Division I football?
Yeah.
Something along those lines?
Yeah.
Where do you think they had Kyle Trask ranked out of those 130 starting quarterbacks?
Low. And I don't know why.
Well, I do know why. It was like 45th. And Kyle played extremely well last year, but when you watch sometimes under pressure, some of the things that he did, I can see why they graded him the way they did. Now, granted, the kid hadn't played a lot, so it's not a fair assessment, fair grade right now. I think this year we'll see what kind of player he really is. I think he's going to have a great year. And the great thing about it, JC, is he can be back next year playing quarterback for the Gators.
Right, and I think he was the reason why Florida had him. Not the only reason, but the primary, or one of the primary reasons. And, the reason I bring up Jamie Newman, QB, is because ESPN has the top 50 SEC players, and he's ranked number, I think, 44 out of that top 50. And I didn't see Kyle Trask even in that from ESPN's rankings. So, yeah, granted, they're not giving him the love that maybe he should have gotten. But that team last year just dominated the only game that they didn't dominate was the Georgia game last year. Florida had problems, I think, with LSU, but who didn't? And they played them as tough as anybody did, other than maybe Alabama. So, I mean, shoot, I think the Gators, with this kid and potentially with 2 more years of him being here at Florida, have to be looked at as a real threat to win the conference. So not just the East, but the conference. Now, this season, has so many unknowns with it, the 10 games and what player's going to get sick, what player's not going to get sick. Hopefully nobody will, but who's going to stay healthy and all that through a really rugged schedule. I'm so excited about this year because of the scheduling and to see how these players react to playing a 10-game schedule against teams in the conference. And I'm glad you mentioned that Mississippi State kid because nobody is talking about them right now.
No, I'm going to go out on a limb right now on September the 2nd, JC.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe not many athletes are going to miss games this year due to COVID. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't know why. I mean, but
I think these schools have it under control. I really do.
Yeah, but I was surprised to see what happened at UCF. I was surprised to see that kid at A&M, Texas A&M, decide to opt out for this season to come back next season. Maybe he just wasn't ready to play. Maybe he was using that as the reason not to play this year. But this year has such an opportunity to really highlight some players playing in big games on a weekly basis where you don't get kind of lost in the weeds playing a team that you typically wouldn't want to watch. I agree with what Buddy said yesterday on the show, how, I understand these kids at smaller schools should have opportunities to do these things, but I don't want to watch it. And that's a perfectly legitimate opinion. I agree with Buddy. But I think with this, well, I know.
Here's the thing. Here's why you and Buddy don't like it, because y'all never coached those kids or knew a lot of those kids that had opportunities to play at those small schools. And it's a great experience for them.
Well,
the average fan wants to see best team against best team every week. I get that. But not every player can play on the best teams or the best programs. But that's an opportunity for them to be able to play in a great environment like the Swamp or Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Well,
nothing like it.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad for him, QB. I'm happy.
All right, refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap with Wrap Spot. September's your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. I want to give a shout out to a couple of our new sponsors. One of them is 84 Lumber. It's your source of building supplies, building materials, and all your construction needs. Visit our website at 84lumber.com. 84 Lumber. Been there, built that. JC, you need to go build something, build a fence in your backyard. So anyway, we got a Facebook Live here, comment, question, brought to you by Melvin Law, where you matter most. Rick says, can't wait to watch Buholtz graduate Chris Rump on TV when Duke plays Notre Dame September the 12th. Yeah, he turned into a heck of a player. He was a good player in high school, no doubt about it. I just can't wait. Let me ask you this, JC, since you love Notre Dame, do they still have their own TV network deal with NBC now that they're in the ACC?
I can't say definitively one way or the other. I would guess yes. I like what they're doing playing in the ACC. I like the ACC is saying yes to them because I think it's better with them involved and maybe they'll be a factor. Who knows? One thing I'm excited about, QB, is November the 14th, and I know I'm getting way ahead of myself here, but can you imagine what that day's going to be like for us couch potatoes watching sports or wherever we're going to be with CBS showing the Masters, then going straight to Baton Rouge for Alabama, LSU, dear Lord. And then that's coming right after the Florida-Georgia game the week before.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. My biggest concern with football this year, and thank goodness we're playing, I mean, that's the number one goal is to play, is with no tailgating going on, and I think some schools are still doing it. I don't think anybody in the SEC is doing it. I think Florida State, a couple of ACC schools are doing it.
Yeah, they are.
But JC, it's going to destroy the economy and these businesses in these college towns.
Going to be awful. And I think it's going to hit, obviously, the restaurants and bars and the small business owners more than anybody. The hotels are going to suffer, and it's too bad. And I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, there's nothing else you can do. There's nothing we can do about it because that decision has been made, and it was made long ago. Iowa State, incidentally, said that they will allow 25,000 fans into their season opener at Jack Trice Stadium, where you just don't go into Jack Trice Stadium and come out very, very happy. And I think that's a good thing to get out there, that they're going to have 25,000 fans. And I don't know I think that capacity is just over 60 maybe. So that's almost half the stadium that they're going to allow fans at. And they announced that yesterday. And do you think that's a good idea or not? I mean, that's the question.
I don't understand why you can't have half. It blows my mind. I think it's perfectly fine for people to go sit in the heat. If, in Florida, they could put 45,000 people in there, and I think it would be perfect.
Well, let me project what you were mentioning earlier here, just about the businesses and the lack of revenue. I read this off of Kevin Brockway on Twitter, and he says that the University of Michigan, massive major university, projecting a revenue loss of $100 million due to football being postponed, eliminating 21 athletic department positions, instituting hiring freeze for 15 other open positions, and a 10% salary cut for coaches and staff. I mean, that is that's a huge announcement, and that's at Michigan, and I don't think there's any question that they have got to make a decision to play before the spring if they're going to save face. I really think they have to play.
The big boys can't play in the spring. It's not going to happen.
Right. So they're going to have to play. They're going to have to play I think October is real. I think this is a potential. I mean, just think about the numbers I just threw at you. And, for what? Obviously, we take this thing seriously, and obviously there has to be protocols put in place, and if they can get procedures and safety measures locked in, then they've got to try it at least, with or without the fans.
No doubt about it. Okay, so here we go. We're going to be joined, JC, by our good friend Scott Dombeck. Wants to talk a little about what's going on at West End here. Scott, are you there? You need to unmute your phone, my man. You there?
What's going on, Shane?
Oh, this is Todd Johnson. Okay, hang on, Todd. We're trying to get one other person on, and we're going to go to break, and we're going to get you. We're having some technical difficulties this morning. I guess Scott, he didn't. He called, and then he hung up. So hang on just a second, Todd. We're going to get to you in just a second. JC, are you there?
I'm still here, my man.
Okay, we thought Scott was on, and then, of course, technology overwhelmed him, and he couldn't do it. So we were going to talk a little bit about West End, what they're trying to do, a little protest to keep that a green space or somebody buy it or what have you. Anyway, JC, have a good day, my man. We'll talk to you end of the week.
All right, my man. We'll see you. Have a good day.
Yep. At Center State Bank, we put business first. We're the largest community bank in the state of Florida, and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations that serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. Going to take our first time out of the pro when we come back. We'll be joined by Gator Great and old Chicago Bear and 7-year NFL vet Todd Johnson. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Hey Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. PodUp with Matthews in the morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gainesville Turnover Specialist. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Our touchdown sponsors are Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Campus USA Credit Union, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Radware, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance, Pomodoro Cafe, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, PRP Regeneration Specialist, and Dowling Signs. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Wednesday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike Medici's, Regal Cinemas, and coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. Next guest here did a lot of celebrating in the swamp. Good old Todd Johnson. Good morning, Todd. How are you, my man?
I'm doing great, Shane. How about yourself?
Can't complain. Appreciate you joining the show today, man. Let's go back to a young Todd Johnson growing up down there in Sarasota. You went to Sarasota Riverview High School. I like when I bring all the former athletes on here. I want to hear about your recruiting process. Did you grow up wanting to be a Gator? Were there other schools that you probably took other visits, but tell us where else you thought about going.
So University of Miami probably recruited me the hardest from the get-go. It was the first one to offer me. I took a visit down there and knew pretty quickly that that was a place that I wanted to play college football or live and have a college experience. I took another official visit to Alabama and another official visit to Illinois and Florida as well. And, it pretty much came down to Alabama and Florida. My sister went to the University of Florida. I was a Gator fan growing up. It was a tough decision, but I had a high school coach sit down with me and said, listen, if you want to go to Florida, you need to do this now. This was early in the recruiting process. He's like, don't wait around. Don't play the game of keeping people guessing. Go ahead and commit to this school. You can play there. You're good enough to play there. So let's sit down and do this. And that's what we did. I believe it was in December that we ended up committing.
Who was the main coach on Coach Spurrier's staff that recruited your area?
Coach Franks was the main coach who recruited our area. And if you ever get a chance to have him on, which I'm sure you have, he'll have some great stories of him recruiting guys in our area and through Riverview High School. He's told me stories where, he slept at our field house and, spent a ton of time there just dealing with our former head coach, who was a character in himself, John Sprague, who was the head coach there for 30 years.
Yeah, Coach Franks was on a couple of weeks ago. He's coaching there at Bethune-Cookman. So you went to the same high school as Larry Kennedy. Obviously, Larry's a little bit older than you. You were a defensive back. So did you break any of Larry Kennedy's records down there at Sarasota, Riverview?
Well, Larry's pretty good. I didn't break any of his records, but I tell you what, growing up, Riverview High School was one of the top schools in the area and in the state and even in the country. Larry, as I'm sure he let you guys know, he was the number one DB in the country coming out of high school, and he was a guy I looked up to. I had pictures of him hanging in my room, and I wanted to be just like Larry Kennedy growing up. So he really set the tone and helped Riverview get to a premier position.
Now, you played more. You did other sports other than football, right? You ran track. Did you play any other sports?
I did. I played, pretty much every sport until I got to high school. And then once I got to high school, I focused on football, and I ran track just to get better at football. Gotcha.
We got a Facebook Live question here brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. Jeff wants to know, why did you nix the University of Miami in your recruiting process?
Well, I went down to the game. It was a conference game. I can't tell you which game it was, but it was, I felt like it was a pretty big game for them going in. You get down there, and there's about 25,000 people in the stadium, and it feels like it's a scrimmage. And I don't know, it just wasn't the vibe and the the setting that I pictured and wanted to be a part of, especially after growing up, going to Gainesville and seeing some games in Gainesville and that college experience.
So I got to ask you this because I can picture it right now. We've had so many guys talk about when Coach Spurrier came for their in-home visit. Was that the first time you met Coach Spurrier? Did you meet him, when you came on a visit before that, or some games that you came to watch? What was your first thought process when you got to meet the head ball coach?
Probably like most people, just in awe, and I probably didn't say a whole lot and just listened. He took a tour of my house and saw a picture, big poster of Larry Kennedy hanging up, autographed to me, and he was in his Florida Gator uniform, and Spurrier was in the background, and he was wearing a blue pants and a white belt. And I remember him, making a comment about that white belt. Jerry let me wear that. I can't believe that. So it was pretty comical, and it was pretty neat to have him at my house along with Coach Franks. And going back to Coach Franks, what a great guy. It doesn't get much better than him. And everybody you come across that's been coached by him or recruited by him, I think says the same thing. We were all lucky to have him, be a part of our lives.
Yeah. We're speaking with Todd Johnson here on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. So, Todd, you get to the University of Florida, you redshirted your first year, and then, man, you had a tremendous career. When you look back at your career at Florida, is there one moment, one game, or what have you that stands out in your mind the most?
There's a lot of moments. There's a lot of fun memories. I think, as a sophomore, getting my first huge start against Tennessee, at their place. It was the game where Jesse led us back down the field and hit Jabbar on that slant to win the game. That's probably, when I realized, holy cow, this is big time and this is really happening. And I better bring my big boy pads every single week, to be able to perform for my guys and not let my teammates down. So that was a memory that really stands out and was one where, I'll never forget.
Yeah. When you look back, I've had Rex on, I've had other guys from Coach Spurrier's last team that he had here. That's got to be, Coach Spurrier thinks that's one of his most talented teams. And unfortunately, the year that, the Tennessee game had to be switched to the end of the season, we lose on the 2-point conversion or what have you. Talk about how talented that team was. And do you think it was as talented as some of the teams that won the national title here?
There's been some super talented teams and some great teams to watch. Obviously we didn't get the job done that year, but, we had players all over the field. When I got to the NFL, or people would always ask me, man, is the game faster? I said, no, it's not faster. I was going up against Jabbar, Rashay, and Taylor Jacobs every day. So the game's not faster. Everybody's a little bit bigger. Some of the linemen are faster and whatnot. But, as far as skilled guys and the talent that we had on that team, I think it was as good as it gets. Yeah.
So when you look at your career, I like to ask guys this: who was your favorite school to play against year in and year out?
Probably Tennessee. At the time, the winner of that game was probably going to win the Eastern Conference and probably going to win the SEC championship. So that was always a great rivalry game for us. Going into it, you knew it was going to be a battle, and whoever came up with the most plays and eliminated the errors was probably going to win it. And it was just a great game to be a part of.
Yeah. How much did you enjoy? I mean, you grew up in the state of Florida. I'm an out-of-state guy, so it took me a while to understand what the Florida-Georgia rivalry game meant there in Jacksonville. Did you enjoy playing in that game?
I did. I probably didn't enjoy it quite as much. I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but, we were spanking them so much and beating them every single year that it didn't seem like a big deal to us. We just expected it. And, it was just not another game, but it was just an expectation that we would beat them. And, I feel like Florida's getting to the point, this year where we can kind of flip the tables on them and go beat them. But, now I realize what a huge game that is to win every year and how much bragging rights and how important it is to Gator Nation, where, when I was playing, I realized it was important. But again, we kind of took it for granted because we pretty much knew we were going to beat them year in and year out.
Yeah, that's how it was when I played them too. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Todd Johnson here, former Gator Great, on the Titan More hotline. We got a text on the Titan More text line for you here, Todd. It comes from Daryl. He says, could you ask Todd, what is the most physical game you ever played in as a Gator?
Physical game as a Gator, probably Mississippi State. We went to their place. I think we were ranked top 5 in the country, expecting them to beat them. The song Who Let the Dogs Out just came out, and they played that thing 100 times and probably had 300 yards rushing. I think me and the other safety had about 20 tackles each. And it was just a, physical battle and didn't end well for the Mighty Gators. I think we ended up kicking off the first half and the second half. One of our captains, said, we'll kick at the start of the game instead of saying defer. And the referee, usually they correct you in that situation, but they didn't. So we kicked off the first half and the second half.
Oh, goodness. When you played for both, mostly Coach Spurrier, a little bit for Ron Zook, can you talk a little bit about the differences in their personalities and how they coached?
Obviously, you guys know what a high-energy guy Coach Zook was, and tried to bring that to the team, and I think did for the most part. We just weren't able to, transition and execute what they were wanting us to execute. But both really care for their players, and the game in Florida meant a lot to both of them, and I'm appreciative that got a chance to play for both of them.
Yeah. So, Todd, you get drafted by the Chicago Bears, spend some time there, get to play in a Super Bowl. Talk a little bit about, playing in Chicago, which, it can be a great place and it can be a bad place. They can boo the hell out of you in a heartbeat.
Yep.
But just talk about what it was like how cool it was to play in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, first off, getting drafted, I don't think it's every year that NFL teams drafts 4 guys from the same college. So I went up there with teammates. You're getting there. You have Alex Brown, who, set the tone for us and looked out for us and made sure that we were doing things right and really just took care of us. And it was really just a great experience and a fantastic 4 years. Like you said, the fans can be brutal, but they could be fantastic as well. And we went on, a great run of 2 years where we won a bunch of ball games and, had some memories and created some memories winning the NFC Championship and going to the Super Bowl and just having a heck of a run. So it was a great experience and one I'll never forget.
Yeah, there's, not many people get to play in a Super Bowl, no question about it. So you played a little bit with the Rams too. Which organization, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but which one did you like living better in St. Louis or did you like it in Chicago better?
So love Chicago, great town, tons of things to do. I signed with St. Louis, and I'm driving around in Missouri after I signed, St. Louis, Missouri after I signed, and it's about March. Everything's dead. I'm like, I can't believe I just signed a contract to live in Missouri for the next few years of my life. And I was not looking forward to it, but that soon changed because, St. Louis ended up being a great town. There's some awesome little suburbs and some fun places to go out and, just really good people. I was kind of at the end of the greatest show on turf. So Isaac and Torrey were still there, but they were kind of towards the end of their career. And, we weren't too successful, but, there were some really good teammates and some fantastic memories that I have from St. Louis as well, even though we didn't win a ton of ball games.
When you look back at your career, when you're preparing for your opponent in the National Football League, I remember in my younger days, it was always Barry Sanders that our defensive players hated playing against. Was there one guy that when you saw the schedule come out and you're like, oh, Lord, we got to play them again? Was there one guy, whether it was a running back, a tight end, or someone that you had to try to tackle or cover? Who was that one player that you just hated going up against?
For me, it was more quarterbacks. We could tackle and pretty much cover everybody for the most part. But when you get a quarterback who knows what you're going to do defensively and knows where the weak spot of it is, going to check to the play that's going to make you successful, that's about as frustrating as it can be for for a defensive guy or a secondary guy. So going against, Peyton and Tom Brady and the guys that were elite and could put their offense in a position to be successful against no matter what you were running defensively, those were probably the biggest challenges for me and I think defensive guys, in the NFL.
Yeah, we got another text here on the Titan Tomorrow text line. It comes from Scott. Scott wants to know, Todd, what was your favorite venue to play in the National Football League?
Soldier Field is pretty awesome and pretty unique, but as far as away stadiums, going up to Green Bay and just seeing the tradition and walking out of that long tunnel that you go in the locker room and just the history and it being right in the middle of a neighborhood. I mean, what that feels like and how cool that is to play there, especially, when you can get a win and walk out there victorious. That's a pretty special experience and something that, you can only dream of. And for that to happen, it's pretty surreal.
Yeah, there's nothing like Lambeau Field. That, like you said, it's in the middle of a freaking neighborhood. It's crazy.
Right.
We got another Facebook Live question comment brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. Jeff wants to know, Ty, can you compare the Swamp crowd to other college and NFL stadiums?
As far as noise and environment, I don't think NFL stadiums compete with it. It's just so loud and whatnot. I remember Coach Hoke first came in and we were going to huddle up on defense, for the first game. I forget who we were playing. You know how those early games used to be. So we'd huddle up the first series, and he soon realized we're not going to be able to huddle because we're not going to be able to hear each other talk. So we switched the signals, pretty much in the first quarter of that first game, and just signal everything in defensively. So obviously a huge advantage for the defense, in the Swamp when the fans are rocking and rolling and making noise and doing their part, and something that you just can't do at NFL stadiums. It's just different. I mean, it's a great environment, some awesome stadiums, but it's just a different feel, a different environment, a different noise than you get in the Swamp and a few other college stadiums.
Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's number one choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. Speaking with Todd Johnson, got a few more minutes left with him. So, Ty, back to the Super Bowl. A lot of people say that have been to the Super Bowl and you lose it, that the feeling is just awful and it just weighs on you for years after that game. Was it like that for you at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of bittersweet because it's such a great experience. Everything leading up to the NFL doesn't hold back. And, you have great memories that week with your teammates of, going out to eat and practicing and preparing and, doing some special things and just getting together as brothers and celebrating, all the work you put in and obviously losing it. I still haven't watched the entire game, if that tells you anything. There was a play where I got a penalty for roughing the kicker. I thought I was, pretty close to blocking a field goal, and I ended up roughing the kicker. It got declined. That's the only play that I've gone back and watched just to see, exactly what happened. But, I try and look at it as a positive and not have any bitterness about it. But it's hard to. I mean, it's hard not to, even though it was such a great experience and we have such great memories from it.
Another text here on the Titan Tomorrow text line. It comes from Fred. Fred wants to know, Todd, who was the one quarterback that gave you fits in college?
Oh, man, in college. I don't know if anybody really gave us fits in college quarterback-wise. When we had issues, it was more in the running game, being able to stop running backs. I don't know if it was because we dealt with Rex and some other great quarterbacks in practice every day. I guess Ken Dorsey, we struggled with him, but I think that was more a product of them being loaded across the board and not being able to get to him with, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 first-round draft picks protecting him.
Yeah. So, Todd, after your playing career, you played 7 years in the NFL. You go back to Sarasota, and you become a head ball coach at your alma mater. How cool was that?
Yeah, that was awesome. Coach Sprague, who was a head coach, me and him had talked while I was in the NFL for a while. He knew that I wanted to come back and and coach and hopefully be the head coach one day. And, about a year or two after I got back, he called me out of his house. He goes, "All right, Tilo, I'm retired." He goes, "You ready to be head coach?" I'm like, "No, I'm not ready yet. I want to, have a couple more years to relax and just be an assistant and enjoy life." But, that wasn't the case. He was ready to step down, and, I took over, and it was an awesome experience. Loved every second of it. I'm blessed now where I'm not the head coach anymore, but our coaching staff is, a bunch of guys that I worked with and hired a lot of them. And, they still let me come around and coach and be involved, which I think is unique and rare, where former head coaches, still involved and still coaching at the same school. But just a place that I love to be around and help out and see the program grow and develop and really become what it's becoming here again.
Yeah, talk a little bit about, I dabbled into high school coaching for about 12 years. My dad was a high school coach in Mississippi for 35 years. And I'm a big believer high school coaches have the most influence on an athlete than any other coach they'll ever have. What did it mean to you when you were able to, come back to your high school and coach these young men, not only in football, but you can tell them about your story, what you had to do to make it to college, to make it to the NFL? Just talk a little bit about, how you enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole reason I wanted to get back there is because I saw what a difference coaches could make and, difference they made in my life as well. There was a ton of kids that came out of Ruby High School and could have gone on to be great players, but, just couldn't do it academically or stay out of trouble or whatnot. And, when you can help those kids and get them on the straight and narrow and get them going down the right path, that's, about as good a feeling of accomplishment as you're going to get. And to be able to do that on a day in and day out basis was something that I really enjoyed and still enjoy it today. Obviously, I can't do it quite as much as I was when I was there full time, running operations day in and day out and whatnot. But, it's still neat to have influence on these kids and see them be successful and grow and develop.
No doubt about it. Well, let the Gator Nation know what Todd Johnson's up to these days.
So Mike Pearson, offensive tackle, Gator Hall of Famer, owns a distributorship for a company called ArthurX, where we're in surgeries and doctors are using our products. So I'm in ORs every day, seeing all types of surgeries, that I never thought I would see. Mike said he needed a guy in Sarasota. He knew I loved doing what I was doing, but he wanted me to look at it, and I thought it was a great opportunity for me and my family. So, I jumped on board and are learning and growing and having a good time while still getting out and being able to coach and be involved at River High School and get up to some Gator games every now and then. So, I got 3 kids who are love the orange and blue and are brainwashed from the get-go. Every time they see a Seminole car driving by or car with a Seminole plate, they say that's terrible. So we brainwash them from an early age to hate their rivals and, love the Gators, and they know we're watching every Saturday and rooting them on and cheering for them and being, great fans whether we win or lose.
That's awesome. We got another text here on the Titan MR text line. It comes from Jim. Jim wants to know, Todd, who are some of the teammates that you stay in touch with the most?
Obviously, my roommates, Brock Berlin, Mike Pearson, Aaron Walker, Rex, Lido, Kiwan. Especially getting up to Gator games now has been fantastic because we've been able to see some guys who I haven't seen in a while. And, it really is a great bond. You haven't seen those guys for a while, and you're like, man, are these guys going to, remember me or know me? But it's like old times when you see them, and it's a lot of fun, being able to see their kids and introduce my kids. And it's just been awesome to get up to games and see some players again. But, Mike and – go ahead, Shane.
Well, no. You finish your sentence. I got a question for you. It just popped in.
Yeah, Mike and Brock and AWalk were my, my roommates pretty much the 4 or 5 years that I was there, and in my wedding, as well as Daryl Dixon and Reed Fleming, a couple guys that I also stay in touch with, and just a lot of good friends and a lot of good buddies that we made over the years.
It's what I tell everybody, and you may agree or disagree with me, Todd. When I was here, we all lived in Yon Hall. You guys got to live off campus in different places, but you stay in contact with your college teammates a lot more than you do your pro teammates because, you come in a class together, you live together for 3, 4, 5 years. In the pros, you got some relationships you build, but there's so much different age difference among players, and everybody kind of goes on their own way. I stay in contact with way more of my college teammates. Same with you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, when you're 19, 20, 21 years old, you're still growing and learning, and you're doing that together, without a wife or without kids or any of that stuff. So, it creates a bond that I don't think you necessarily get, when you're at the NFL and you're living by yourself at your own apartment or house, or, you have a wife or you end up having kids. So it's definitely different, and you create, I think, stronger lasting bonds in college with those teammates.
So you brought up Brock Berlin, and that's a name I haven't heard in a while. I can't remember. Did Brock and Rex come in the same year?
No, Brock came after him. So we were down to the Orange Bowl, and Spurrier called me over to the buffet line and goes, "Todd, my man, when we get back from this bowl game, you're going to have a new roommate. We got a hotshot recruit, Brock Berlin, coming in. He's going to be your roommate," which I was kind of devastated at the time because I was happy with the roommate I had. I didn't want to change, but Coach Spurrier had it right because me and Brock hit it off and ended up becoming, best friends, and a guy that I'm still really good friends with today.
What's he up to these days?
Brock is in Shreveport, Louisiana, and he's in medical sales, doing really, really well. He has 3 kids, which is kind of funny. They're all the same age as my kids. And we actually just got together with him and Mike Pearson, a few weeks ago at a little vacation. So he's doing really well. Is a Hurricane, but still secretly roots for the Gators.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, last thing for you, Todd, and we really appreciate you taking the time today. I have all the former guys that played for the head ball coach. You got to have a couple of good stories you can tell us.
Man, there's so many good ones. I think the one that sticks out to me is, we were playing LSU. Rex was lighting them up offensively with Jabbar and Rusche and all those guys. I had an interception, had a chance for a second interception, but the ball slipped through my fingers and hit me in the face mask. So on the plane ride home, I see Coach Spurrier walking down the hallway, and I kind of sink down in my seat because I know he's going to say something to me. And sure enough, he comes over to me, "Toddy, my man, you almost had 2, didn't you?" I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "If you wouldn't have been wearing a face mask, that ball would have broke your nose." So, my teammates got a great kick out of that as I'm scrunched down in my seat and, trying to smile. But there's tons of those stories, and it's great to hear them from all the guys. And, I just feel blessed and very lucky to be a part of the Gator Nation and that program and have so many great memories and great teammates and friends from it.
No doubt about it. Well, we appreciate you taking the time today, my man. We'll have to stay in touch. Hopefully, I don't know about games this year, but at least they're going to be playing. I don't know about fans or what have you. But you and your family stay safe down there, buddy, and we'll talk to you soon. All
right, Shane. Thanks a lot, man. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. That's Gator Great Todd Johnson. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to take our second time out of the program. When we come back, we'll wrap the show up. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Hey Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gainesville Turnover Specialist. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Our touchdown sponsors are Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Campus USA Credit Union, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Radware, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance, Pomodoro Cafe, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, PRP Regeneration Specialist, and Dowling Signs. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Wednesday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Really want to thank Todd Johnson joining us, also JC. We're supposed to have, Rick has a Facebook Live question here, brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. What happened to the call about West End? Did I miss it? No, you didn't miss it, Rick. My man Scott Dombeck, who was going to talk about West End, technology got him. We couldn't get him to figure out the Zoom, so we're going to try maybe tomorrow. But anyway, just want to run down some of our new sponsors that just came aboard: McDonald's, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon Signs, Tropical Smoothie, Aver and Smith, PRP, and Dowling Signs. We appreciate you guys joining the program. I need to read our This Day in Sports. I forgot about it. This Day in Sports is brought to you by GTS, Gainesville's premier maintenance company. Whether you need carpet cleaning or expert painting, fences mended, or any handyman services, call GTS at 352-363-6622. And This Day in Sports, in 1974, oh goodness, in 1974, the PGA Tournament Players Championship in Atlanta, Jack Nicklaus wins the inaugural event. That's what became the TPC, the Players Tournament that is over in Sawgrass now. So Jack Nicklaus won this in 1974, the first one ever. That's brought to you by GTS, Gainesville's premier maintenance company. Don't forget, tomorrow we're going to have Matt Baker from the Tampa Bay Times join us, talk a little college football. We'll talk a little Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady. But really excited about this one, folks. Norm Carlson is going to be joining the show. As long as we get Norm on Zoom, we may have to do a practice run. But longtime sports information director here at the University of Florida, helped Coach Spurrier win the Heisman Trophy back in those days. So he'll have tons of stories. So make sure you tune in and listen for that show on tomorrow. And then Friday's show is the one where we're going to have the Coach Spurrier, Coach Bobby Bowden interview. That's another one that you'll definitely want to tune in. Make sure you follow us and like us on Facebook. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. NBA playoffs, the Boston Celtics take a 2-0 lead against the Toronto Raptors. And last night, the Denver Nuggets also advance in Game 7 against the Utah Jazz. I'm not sure who plays tonight. I was looking at something here before the San Francisco Giants, I almost call them the New York Giants. They beat the Colorado Rockies last night 23-5. 23 runs in 8 innings, the Giants scored. That's hard to do. But obviously pitching, the way they're playing, they're only playing 60 games and they're playing every night. There's just no way you can have great pitching, it looks like, in Major League Baseball right now. A lot of runs being scored. Let's see who plays in the NBA tonight. The NBA tonight, you got the Miami Heat with the 1-0 lead over the Milwaukee Bucks. And then Game 7, Billy Donovan's OKC Thunder and the Houston Rockets. So if you're into the NBA playoffs, which I'm not really into it, but I like watching some basketball. So I may watch a little bit of that. Also, golf starts. The Tour Championship, I think, doesn't start tomorrow. I think it starts Friday. It goes Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday this week. But anyway, that's pretty much going to be the show, a wrap on this show today. It's brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe out there, folks. Football is right around the corner. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow.